And we are the Thrive Tribe. Get what you doing with that water bottle?
Nothing.
What you doing with that water bottle there?
Drinking it.
Drinking it, an empty water bottle. Okay, you know what? Each his own. I don't think you could get any more hydrated, brother. But alongside me, I got my lovely co-host with me, Rockstar Positivity and Modern Caveman. Say what up, y'all.
What up? What up? What up?
All right.
Stealing my words. Look at that. Stealing my words. Actually, stealing Matthew McConaughey's words. But
it's all right. I'm allowing it because you stole my words.
Pretty much.
Well, me?
No, the what up, what up, what up. That's me, usually. What up? But today, I want to shout out to the audience because we're testing the audience feature on this app now. And I gotta say, I'm loving it. It's a great feature. It's coming out really nice, and I'm looking forward to future audience members as well. You know,
absolutely.
And I also want to shout out to some of our most frequent listeners. Desiree, thank you so much for everything. You have been a true inspiration and motivating us and helping us through this process thus far. So we are extremely grateful for everything that you've been doing. And Fernando, you've been commenting. We love you, brother. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. So without further ado.
Wait, hold on. There's also a bunch of other people. I don't know if they want to be named, but they that actually just share out our stuff. So shout out to you guys too, because like it's one thing to just listen, but it's also another thing to share. You know, especially when you get value into your life, to share it to somebody else and say, "Hey, this could offer you something." We appreciate you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Definitely don't go unnoticed. We appreciate everything. We appreciate all of that. So, how was you guys this week? How you guys doing?
Sick as a dog.
Sick as a dog. Well, you look like it. Never mind. Let me behave.
God, why you gotta bring out the knives already?
I didn't say it. You know, I stopped myself. I reeled it in.
Anyway.
So, Christina, you didn't answer. We obviously heard about this one right here from the Dog Pound. What about you?
I've had a really great week. The weekend was especially beautiful. I attended this really cool event in Houston, and it was just very motivating and inspiring, and I loved it. It definitely boosted my mood and my whole way of thinking, and yeah, it's been good. Really, really good. Can't complain.
What was that event about? You care to share?
It was a Latina day. It was shedding light on small business owners and community speakers, all Latina. It was hosted by Desiree. She's our good friend on Let's Vominos live stream. But she put together a really great event. It was super, super amazing. Very powerful.
Love it. I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, just so you guys know, we don't only talk on the show. We don't only have this podcast. We're everywhere. We're on all these other platforms and stuff like that. And we're doing major things in the communities as well. So if you want a little bit of positivity outside of this, hit us up and we'll figure something out. We can make something happen. 100%. No biggie. You know, we got to talk to our celebrity liaison over there, Christina. So she'll make it happen. But my week was all right.
Nobody asked you, though.
I can't complain. You know what? I asked a question, and I'm answering the question. So, you know.
I'd love to hear the answer.
I thought we were just getting into the topic, all right?
I want to hear what he asked.
It's all about you.
Wait.
Go right ahead, Roland. How was your week, buddy?
Thanks. I appreciate that. My week was good, actually. My week was actually really good. You know, normal ups and downs, but that's life, right? It's the way we manage those ups and downs. And I think that's the important part, right? Yeah. Managing those ups and downs and handling those ups and downs. Oof. Some doozies, though. Some doozies. I wanted to talk to you guys.
Some of them are coming as fastballs, and they're just, you know, you swing and sometimes you miss. It's like, it's hard.
I never miss.
Sure.
Nobody's perfect.
I'll throw the curveballs at you.
I'm perfect. All right, Christina.
Yeah.
Remember what we said. Remember what we said in the last episode about intentions. All right.
Okay.
Do your intentions make you a good person? I'm gonna remind you.
Look, he stole your topic already.
I'm just being honest. It's for your own good, so you don't get too big-headed.
This is true. This is true. I'm sure the audience will appreciate that. But I wanted to talk to you guys, though. All jokes aside, I wanted to talk to you guys about a few things. Actually, I was gonna have these as like separate topics, but I'm gonna kind of blend them. I'm gonna blend them in. We're gonna see how it goes. First thing I want to ask you guys is, what do you think is the best way to bond? Like, to anybody. It could be a significant other, it could be to a friend or anything like that. Like, what do you normally do for bonding moments?
Communicate.
Communicate?
I think that's the best way. I think the best bonds are created through communication.
Okay. That's fair. That was really short for you. Are you feeling okay today?
I'm feeling great. You see, here's the
That's a
thing.
really short answer.
See, you're gonna make me go off on a tangent, but here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
When you're right, you're right. You don't have to say anything more than that. So,
Ooh, okay. And you guys are worried about me having the big head. You guys are worried about me having the big. Okay, this is how we're playing it today. All right.
go right ahead, Christina.
I think that communication is probably one of the better answers. But I think I was gonna say that sometimes if you like do something exciting together, I mean, you are communicating, but you're also like you're bonding. Like if I want to bond with a friend, like I want to do something like exciting and exhilarating because it really kind of tests the both of you and how you're going to handle the situation, that you get true meaning out of each other and like how you can understand each other, work with each other, get through this experience together. That makes a really good bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for sure. For sure. I like that. So I would say communication, but that was already taken twice. So creating intimate moments, though. Creating intimate moments, though. Like if you have an intimate moment, and it doesn't have to be like a romantic moment. It could be a platonic intimate moment, right? Where you guys are just either going through some shit and you gotta grab a couple beers and just talk about it, work it out. That's a form of communication, but it's also like a more intimate moment, a more of a let's get this out, let's work through this together.
Right.
Cohesion. I would say cohesion is definitely one of those things that'll strengthen a bond like nobody's business, and it's a lot of team building exercises. What do you guys feel about like team building exercises?
Those are very important. I say yes. I vote yes.
Okay.
Just instead of just one person you're trying to bond with, it's a whole team. It's the whole crew. It's like you always work together, and you're robotic together. You work through all the motions together. I think that having team bonding moments definitely strengthens how the work ethic is at work. I think it's so important that you do that.
For sure.
May I ask a question? What
No.
Are these like intentional, kind of premeditated team building experiences? Like, let's see, how can we work through a certain situation, or is this like kind of in the moment, things like that?
Either or. I mean, you can flip a coin and it'll work both ways. I think team building exercises at the end of the day are designed with a specific point, with a specific purpose, right? When you have a team, whether it's unintentional or intentional, I think whenever you get into a team building exercise, like, go to a fair together, go to a baseball game or something like that, like you figure things out about the other person or the other people that are involved that you might not otherwise realize unless you went through that, unless you went to that point. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it can be intentional or unintentional.
Yeah.
Why you ask that question? Let's hear
No,
it.
because
45
I
minutes on
definitely
the clock.
think I think that the intentional will ultimately complement the unintentional. Because you will recognize when that situation does arise or a similar situation does arise, and you know how to handle it. I definitely believe that. I think that goes hand in hand with communication.
Mm-hmm.
When you begin to understand what the other person is experiencing, or what their feelings, and you're able to communicate that, and when you begin to learn a little bit about each other, then when you'll understand those trigger points and stuff like that, so that way you know when not to step on them and stuff, and you know how to kind of navigate a relationship. If that
Okay.
makes any sense, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I'm a fan of team building exercises. Like I love team building exercises,
Mm-hmm.
So much so that in fact I was thinking about doing one on one of our lives, whether it be an Instagram live or a TikTok live, whichever one we decide to do. I was thinking about doing one, and I'll disclose that after the episode at
Mm-hmm.
some point. But don't be looking at me like that, Christina. So I'm down. I'm down for these team building exercises and stuff like that. I think that's a great way for us to build our cohesion and build our unit,
Mm-hmm.
right? We start here and then we expand. And as we grow, and we've been growing, and I've been noticing this a lot lately, like there's been not necessarily wishy-washy, but there's been people who are unclear on our intentions. And I think that we can figure out a way to combat that, and make our intentions a lot more clear whenever we do these team building exercises.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to benefit us in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone listening back home, wherever you are in your car, on the way to work, whatever it may be, you're listening in real time, us figuring things out as we go, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we said before in this episode, earlier in this episode, we're not perfect, and we're going to figure some things out, and we're going to work on getting better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way we can do that is with a community.
Mm-hmm.
So we got this. We're on par. We're in there.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when this is where it gets funny? What happens when a bond? Let's see. How do I word this? What happens when you have a bond with somebody and they cross a boundary that they were not a part of?
That they were not a part of or aware of.
They had nothing to do with it. So you created a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
You had a boundary set in place, right? Let's say me and you, we had a boundary, and Christina had nothing to do with the situation, and she kind of crossed the boundary that we had set in place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would you combat that? How would you fight that?
Well, I'm a believer that you can't necessarily fault people for crossing boundaries that they didn't know that existed. And I think there are like clear boundaries that everybody kind of has.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are some that can be on the gray zone, and different people navigate that differently. So I think it's very important to make sure that you make your boundaries known, you make your intentions known. But if somebody crosses something that they weren't aware of, or they weren't a part of, I think it's important to raise the flag and say, listen, I understand, with empathy, say, I understand that you did cross this thing. You weren't aware that it was going to offend me in any ways. I'm just letting you know that this
That you need to
affects me.
mind your business.
This makes me uncomfortable, and you know, and I think if we're mature adults, we could have that conversation.
Yeah, definitely mature for getting involved in something you don't belong in. What you got, Christina?
I agree with Gil completely. I want to add that, if somebody crosses a boundary, they they immediately should tell you, because if you're not aware of the situation, how are you going to know what you don't know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with communicating with the person if they've offended me, or maybe they said something out of content or whatever. If it's something that I can't get out of my head, I'm confident in myself, and I know how to separate emotions from a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I
I
bring it up.
don't.
I say,
I'm immature
hey,
as fuck.
you should stop being like that. I'll say, hey, this happened. Um, and I'll be nice about it. Maybe you didn't mean it like this, but I really like that, really, hurt my feelings, or, I think it was maybe unintentional, but I want to hear your side of it. Let's talk about it. Because I can't
Mm-hmm.
stand knowing that I did something that offended somebody, because that's not my intention.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
it affects people's lives. It does. If you're if you have mental health issues, or maybe you're just going through something, words hurt. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather you come straight to me and call me out on it. I
Mm-hmm.
won't be mad. I won't be angry. Um, I will tell you quickly. We'll squash it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because me personally, I don't think I've ever have been rude or anything like that intentionally, because that's just not part of my character. That's not part of who I am. It's not part of what I believe in. So
Mm-hmm.
if anybody were to say they got offended by something I said or something I did, call me out on it. I will tell you what happened, what I was thinking, what my true intentions were. I'll apologize. That's just me. It's not hard for me to just, talk about it. I would hate for you to ask somebody else what they thought without coming to me first, because that right there means that, it's you're trying to validate your feelings with somebody else without coming to the source and trying to figure it out, what really happened. And
Yeah,
that to me is more offensive than anything.
I
for
think
sure.
something you said, Christina, um is what's key to all of it. And I think it's key to it from the person who's been offended. Is especially like if you've offended someone, or I'm sorry, if someone's offended you, cross that boundary that they didn't know that existed. Like what put yourself kind of in their shoes and trying to understand what their intentions are, because people may cross a boundary that they didn't know existed, or you have with other people, but when they cross that boundary they have only but the best intentions. And that could be true for family. That I know that to be very true with family.
Mm-hmm.
Very often family can intrude and cross boundaries with the best intentions. Now it's important to call them out on it. If you don't call them out on it, then they can't navigate, and they're just going to continue to tread on that. I know one particular situation when I was young is I made a joke to somebody that I thought, you know, was, could take the joke. And like right afterwards, like I say about a week after, the guy came up to me and said, you know, all cool stuff, but my wife really didn't like that joke. And I said, I'm sorry. I apologize. It was not my intention to offend, and that, obviously it shifts your relationship a little bit, and that's okay. I think people are afraid of shifting their relationships, but it has to shift your relationship. You need to know how you're going to navigate your relationships with the people.
Okay, that's fair. So you can't fix what you don't know is broken, basically.
Yeah.
Like that's what it comes down to. So I like that. Those are definitely solid answers. Those are definitely geared towards more of what we aim at mostly.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of times I say things that I don't mean to say, and people take it the wrong way. People take it the right way, whatever the case may be. And that's on them. But it's important for us to know that whatever boundary we set, it's not our fault for people crossing them if they didn't understand the situation for what it was. You know, um, how do you think those types of situations affect the bond with certain people?
I don't understand the question.
So if you had a situation, like I said before, like me and you we get into a deep conversation, and then Christina kind of comes in and she didn't understand the boundary that was there or anything like that. How do you think that would affect the bond that we had?
That we had,
Hmm. All around.
I think it.
How do you think crossing boundaries affects the bonds around you?
I think it shifts the relationship. Honestly,
Hmm.
as long as people are aware of the boundaries, it has to shift the relationship. You
Hmm.
have to know how far you can step and and where to navigate, where not to navigate. There are certain things that I can, like us. I think us is the perfect example where we're crude and we kind of we hit a little bit below the belt sometimes, and but that's just kind of our relationship that we've built along the way. We also know how far below the belt to hit,
Hmm.
and how hey, that's gonna be hurtful, and don't get me
Right.
wrong, there may be a time where we may go a little too low, and we have to apologize for it, and that's just us understanding where those boundaries lie, and it has to shift the relationship. You have to
Hmm.
know where everybody lies and how everybody navigates.
Yep. What you got, Christina?
I think healthy communication is definitely important. The bond is definitely affected, but does it mean it can't bounce back?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you looked up the true definition of a friend, it goes, it goes to say, you can have disagreements, but you have to learn how to agree to disagree. That
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you have ill intentions. um there's got to be an equality of understanding. It's between you and that person. If
Mm-hmm.
you're a true friend, and you're honest and open, and you can call them out on their bullshit, and
Mm-hmm.
they do the same exact thing to you, you guys can squash it, then that's true friendship.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody were to get offended, and just kind of like want to maybe end things, um I'm a strong believer of sometimes like ripping it off like a band-aid. That's just part of who I am, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's good or bad. But if you're a true friend, and you say that you're my true friend, and we can't work it out, then I don't think you were being a true friend to me. I think maybe you were, maybe it was the idea of being friends with me was a good idea, but maybe you had other intentions, and I just wasn't giving you what you wanted. Um, because a true friend, you work it out, you talk about it. If ever there was, a horrible disagreement, just think about that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would our friendship have to end on something where we couldn't figure it out? Because I want to say that I'm a true friend, and I have a small circle of friends. I would never be a fake friend. If I were to get so upset with somebody, I mean, it would have to be something pretty bad for you to have like crossed a boundary where it was almost unforgivable. But even then, like, I'm so forgiving. Um, I'd hate to think that it just bothers me that we couldn't work it out somehow, or not
Yeah.
giving me a chance to explain myself in the situation. You know what I mean? But it's all about, respect and support. And if you don't have that, then maybe you should separate. That bond is never going to get back together.
Mhm.
But I'm such a optimistic person, and I'm such a, I want to say that there's got to be a way to work it out. There's always got to be a way to work it out. If you're friends, if you're true friends, there's always got to be something that can be said, But like I said, I'm not a dreamer. I know that there's people out there, maybe they had such a difficult situation that they were having and they couldn't be friends anymore. It makes me sad, So
you I think so many people are afraid that afraid of affecting the bond in general, but the truth is that the effect, even if it's a painful effect, does not necessarily mean that the bond is broken. If anything, it can contribute to it being tighter, being stronger. I think about my relationship with my own wife, which I've, developed over, almost 2 decades now. Sometimes I will offend my wife and she will offend me. Sometimes, she will, touch that one part of my emotions that just irks me the wrong way, and I do the vice versa. And we fight about it. We come to an understanding, but it takes us going through those painful moments in order for our bond to get stronger. And so I think, and this could work outside of marriages and everything, but not every bond has to be broken because of an offense. Those bonds are often the ones that get stronger, they get tighter. Now the ones that have to separate are often the ones where someone can't find forgiveness, someone can't find common ground. And I think that's if you are the person who's willing to be the bigger person, to be the one that wants to lend out the olive branch, and the other person just doesn't want to receive it, then that's not on you. And you have to be okay with that bond breaking, even if it's a temporary there's bonds that are broken, there's bonds that are bended. And sometimes, it's okay for a bond to be bended too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sure. That all that ties into growth though, right? Growth of a relationship. The more you strengthen the bond, people are gonna go through shit. No matter which way you look at it. You're gonna go through shit. I mean, in the past 20 years, Gil, how much shit have we fucking gone through? And how much, like, in reality, you look at it and then you put yourself in perspective, right? You show empathy to the people who are making that offense. But there's only so much empathy that you can show, right? Before somebody doesn't get it. If they don't get it and they obviously aren't clicking with it, then there comes a point in time where you're like, all right, I gotta go. This is not worth my peace. This is not worth me sacrificing my own beliefs and my own core for you to not understand something that I explained in every single way possible.
Well,
That's
the key, what you just said right there. Is you can extend your empathy as much as possible, but if that empathy is being abused in whatever way, then hey, there's just so much you can do, and separation is important in that situation. If it is damaging your peace, and we talk about this all the time about peace of mind. If something is stealing your peace of mind, then it's too expensive. So if it's going to disrupt your peace of mind, then that bond needs to be broken, and it's okay for that, because and it's okay not only for yourself, but it's okay for the other person, no matter how painful that bond, that brokenness may be. We see that with ending of relationships all the time. How many times we see somebody who they're meant for each other, right? And then they break up, you know, and it sometimes it's necessary to happen.
Yeah. And those are the times where it's difficult to show empathy though, right? Like from the outside looking in, if you're looking at it from an outside perspective and then you see situations like that, like people who are really close and like, you know, pretty much inseparable. And then when they have a falling out, like what could be that bad to break that bond? What can be that bad for you guys to have a falling out? You know, I'm not a believer, like I'll block somebody quick, but I'm not a believer in like just completely abandoning somebody. You know, if we have a falling out, then we have a falling out. If you want to reach out, you can reach out, whatever the case may be. The relationship won't be the same. The friendship won't be the same by any means. But if you want to reach out, you know, I'll still be there. You know, I'll be a listening ear if need be. But you're not going to get the same courtesy that you had before. You know, and what you got? I thought you were going to say something. Go.
No. I mean, I was just thinking, you know, that's because your trust is tied to it, and it's not just the bond of the relationship that's been broken; it's also the trust of it that comes with it. Because you feel that we had a deeper relationship, and there were things that probably we could confide with each other, we can get through, and when that bond is severed, then it puts that into question, and it puts that trust into question. So I get it.
I think trust is a big thing when it comes to building bonds, though. You know, how can you bond with somebody that you don't trust? You know, that bond is already tainted. That bond is already weak from the beginning. You know, the foundation is not set, right? That's why, like, whenever I talk to anybody, I'm as honest as I can be. I let you know out the gate. This is my intentions. This is what I'm doing. This is what's happening. You know, and that goes for whatever, you know, whatever friendship I make, whatever, you know, whoever I'm talking to, whatever the case may be. Like, I'm fortunate enough now that I have somebody that's receptive to that. Not everybody's going to be receptive to those things. You know, so what you got, Christina?
I think trust is definitely a big part of having a good bond. You know, even if you just first meet somebody, I try to be upfront and honest with them and build trust right away. I think that you also have to have a good intuition, because I kind of can tell if somebody's trying to play a part or if they're being genuine. So trust is a big issue for me, especially if I'm the one that's, you know, starting, you know, the bond or whatever with pure honesty and giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, I hate that someone would be dishonest towards me. So the sooner I can grasp their vibe as far as us building a bond and building a relationship, the better. Because if not, I'm quick to just step away from the situation completely. You know, trust is major in my whole, like, you know, life plan of friends or, you know, serious relationships. You have to have trust, because once you lose that, no matter how deep the bond is, once you lose trust, it's very hard to get back, if not at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wanted a second. I wanted to build on that, because I think we often believe that trust can't be brought back, and I think I can definitely say I have seen firsthand from people who have broken their bonds with their significant others, or with people who were they were best of friends, and they've broken not only their bonds but the trust that was between them that held that bond together. But I've also seen those kinds of people rebuild, and those bonds and that trust that they once had was now even stronger. And don't get me wrong, it takes a lot of pain. It takes a lot of honesty. I think that's the most important thing. It takes a lot of pain. It takes a lot of honesty, and it takes putting your pride aside. And if you can do all those things, and obviously a few more, but if you're willing, if you can honestly say that this person is worth it, and that's the key to it, is understanding the person's worth to your own life. If you can understand the person's worth to your own life and say, you know what, I understand that they've broken me right now, and the offense is probably, it feels almost like it's unrepairable, but I'm gonna figure out a way to repair it, because I think all bonds, all relationships can be repaired if we put enough effort into it, and I think it takes two parties to do as well. I've seen it in my own family. I've seen it in my wife's family, where the bonds were severed, where it should not be together, and they found the worth in one another. And I would say one particular situation in my family is with a family member who cheated and had a child out of wedlock. And I asked, I said, why did you stick around? And they said, well, at first I left, and then my mom came to me and said, well, you know this man for who he is, who he truly is. Forget about the offense, because yes, that was horrible and that was hurtful, and there's no excuse for what he did, but you know him above all things. And she felt at that moment that he was worth the repair. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but their bond today is the strongest, that I've ever seen. And a lot of people have benefited beautifully, and their love for each other has gotten so much stronger. And you could tell they're soulmates. And when you find your soulmate, you can't be without them. So you could tell that. And I'm a true believer that bonds can be repaired and trust can be built stronger than ever.
I don't know. I think that's a situation where we might have to agree to disagree. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but there's so many instances where people get hurt so deep that forgiveness is next to impossible. Although not impossible, it's near impossible. What you were talking about is important, though, for somebody to recognize the value in another person, right? You recognize what that person's worth. You recognize what they bring to the table, essentially. But there's only so much that a person can take before they decide they're like, you know what, enough is enough, right? And that goes beyond the person's value. That goes beyond showing empathy. That goes beyond anything else, like as far as trust being broken, relationships being severed, bonds being severed. Like there's only so much that people can take before they draw the line and say, you know what, I had enough. I'm tired.
It's situational.
I don't want to play anymore. Yeah. 100% situational. So what you got, Christina? You got anything else?
I don't.
So I think I'm going to wrap it up here because we've been on it for a minute. But I definitely appreciate you guys' perspective and stuff like that. And I love this. I love the topic, and it gave me a few ideas for future topics. So we'll talk about that soon. But until next time, much love, everybody. Thank you for listening.